Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, I am a lady who is aged 35 years old, and I have my own confession that I want to share with you. This confession of mine, it started happening when I was only 20 years old. That was when my father got so sick, my brother. When he got so sick, that was when we started going around. We used to follow a lot of prophets, but we were not following your white or your red garment prophets, but we were following the pastors, the one from the Pentecostal churches, because as for my father and my mother, they were both going to the Pentecostal church, but they left that Pentecostal church where they were attending. This was after my father had gotten so sick and there was no hope at all. The church pastor had tried by all means to pray for my father, but unfortunately, my father's situation was not getting better. It was actually getting worse by the day. And what made my parents to follow this certain prophet, it was because they started following him when they would hear his sermons as he'll be preaching on the radio, as well as on different TV stations. In those days, there was no such thing like people going to YouTube to listen to some sermons. They would only hear about it on the radio or on the TV. They took the numbers, and when they took the numbers, they called. Then they were told that it was fine. They should come and have a consultation with the pastor. But what surprised my mom was that after they had spoken with this person who was saying that was the go-to person first when you want to have a one-on-one with the prophet, the person then said that, well, there is a very long queue and I cannot guarantee you when you come, I can't give you a guarantee that you are going to have a one-on-one meeting with the prophet. So my mom then said, what are we supposed to do? Because here, my husband is not okay. Things are not okay. We need to see the man of God. That was when that person told my mom that for a price, at least if they were willing to sow something like a seed in the church, then the church was going to guarantee that when my father and when my mother would go to have a one-on-one consultation with the prophet, they were going to be given the first preference. So at that time we had 2 cars, and out of desperation, my mom then said, with the money, we do not have like money right now. The only thing that I have 2 cars in my garage, and I am willing to let go one of the car so that my husband can be okay again. That lady then said, oh, you have 2 cars. If only you had faith, you were going to come and deposit those 2 cars of yours into the coffers of the church. This was going to be a great seed, because the first car, God is going to use that seed so that your husband can receive his healing. Then the second car, God is going to give you more cars in abundance because you would have trusted in him. Well, my mother said, for now, since we are using the other car, let us just bring the first car. On that same night, we then received a phone call. This phone call, it was from the prophet. But the strange thing that happened, my brother, was that after my mom had received this phone call, when she checked the number, there was no number. It seemed as if the pastor on his side had the powers to delete some phone numbers on your phone. Well, the pastor called and he wanted to know what kind of a model this car was. My parents then told the pastor the kind of a model it was. It was an Lexus, and the pastor said, well, that is fine. We can always find some good use for it for the church, especially when I am going around. It can be part of my convoy. So the pastor said, is it possible that I come and collect it tonight, or if I can send some of my church members to come and collect it? My mother then said, but it is quite late, man of God. Can we do it tomorrow? Because tomorrow we are supposed to come there so that we can have a one-on-one consultation with you, men of God. But the prophet said, I have already been given your healing by God. I only need to transfer this healing from my body. So I can't sleep with so much power in my body, because you know that I am a popular figure in our country. And as a man of God, if I say that I want to reserve this power that God has brought upon my life so that I can heal your husband, then what will happen when I go to bed? Then I transfer this power to my wife, or another sick person comes and knocks on my door. Immediately the Spirit of God is going to feel sorry for that person. Then the power would be taken away from me so that it can be used to heal that person that would have come to my house. So my mom got scared and she was like, we do not want to lose this opportunity. Oh, men of God, you can come to my house. So when the pastor was driving to our place with one of his male assistants, my mom was always on the call. The pastor, whenever they would get lost, then they would call my mom again until they said that they had arrived in our neighborhood. It was me and my siblings who went to open the gate, and when the pastor saw us, and then he drove towards us and we directed him into our yard. Then he entered into the yard. Then he started praying for my father. But the funny thing about it, my brother, is that my father was actually cured off from his disease, and this made our family to start worshiping at that church, because we witnessed a miracle on that same night. I saw a miracle. But this pastor, from the moment that he got out of his car, he looked at me, and when he looked at me, I felt so nervous. Even when he had finished praying for my father, he kept on looking at me. That was when he said, this one, I want her to be part of my team. Then my mother asked the pastor if there was any blessings that were in my body, like was I someone that was gifted in any kind of way by the Holy Spirit. The pastor then nodded his head, but he was looking at me in a very strange way, and he said that, yes, I can see that your daughter has been gifted by the Holy Spirit, and she has been gifted with the spirit of prophecy. She only needs spiritual guidance, so I want her to be part of my team. My mom really got excited, because this was like a new start. God had showed us a miracle. My father had been cured from his strange illness, and here we were on that same night. The Holy Spirit was now saying that I was supposed to go through spiritual guidance so that I can become a prophet. From that day, my mom started calling me prophetess, and whenever she would have a dream, she would come to me so that I can reveal the meaning of the dreams that she would have had. When we started going to church, I started staying at the pastor's house. When I started staying at the pastor's house, that was when the abuse started happening, and it did not happen violently. It happened slowly but surely. This pastor, what he was doing was that he was seducing me without me even realizing that this man, he was actually grooming me so that I can actually become his lover. I stayed there at his house from that time when we started going to that church, until finally when I was somewhere around 29 years old. That was when I said, enough is enough. I am tired of this thing. The day that the wife caught me and him, we were in bed, I thought that maybe something terrible was going to happen to me. But the wife, she actually removed her clothes because she had gone out with the kids, locked the bedroom, then she entered into the blankets with us, and she said that this was really nice. That is how I became like the second wife to this pastor. And I was tired of this thing, because if only he was sleeping with me and his wife, it was far much better. But he was sleeping with each and every young woman in that church. The time that I said this is enough, that was when I saw that I had an infection. He had given me an STI, and I said, I cannot do this anymore. First, you used me from my early age, and now you are giving me all of these STIs, and you have the nerves to actually blame me, because he blamed me and he said that I was the one who had brought this STI. He is a man of God. He can cure any disease. So how was it even possible that he can be affected by an STI? He said that this STI, I was the only one who was suffering from it, because he was covered by the grace of God, and his wife as well was covered by the grace of God. So they both said that they were not suffering from that STI. They kept me in the guest house for 7 days whilst I was taking my medication. But what broke my heart was that one night when we were sleeping, me, the pastor, and his wife, I woke up, and as I was going to the bathroom, I don't know what told me to open this other small cabinet where they used to keep their pills. And when I opened, I saw an empty small bottle of amoxicillin, and it was the same tablets that I had been given at the hospital so as to cure this STI. My heart was broken, because I then realized that what had happened was that the pastor and his wife had actually gone, and they had also taken their own medication. They were on medication treating themselves for an STI, but they had pretended as if they were covered by the grace of God. So my brother, when this thing happened, I said enough is enough. He kept on sleeping with me, but over the years, what pains me a lot, my brother, is that I am unable to give birth. I can't give birth at all, because my womb was destroyed from that time when I started sleeping with him, when I was still 20 years old, until I left his house. This man, he totally destroyed my womb, because there was a time when I would be on family planning, but still when it will come time for me to go on my periods, I would always miss my periods. Then I would find out that I was pregnant. And what hurts me is that whenever I would find out that I was pregnant, he would ignore me. Each and every time he would ignore me until I'll be 4 months pregnant. That is when he will say, I want you to have like an abortion. I do not want you to carry this pregnancy even further. He would always wait until the pregnancy was well advanced. That is when they would take me to their family doctor so that the pregnancy can be removed. This thing, it happened 7 times. I carried a child for 7 times, and each and every time when I would carry this child for 7 times, I'll carry my child until the child will be 4 months, and you know that by 4 months the baby will be moving in your womb. It was always stressing and terrifying to me, knowing that this living being that I am carrying in my womb will never see the daylight, because it is going to be taken away from me by force. So 7 times that they did this thing to me after I had ran away from the pastor's house. When I entered into a relationship, I tried for a child, but I failed to have a child. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sisters. Such a sad story. 7 times being forced to remove the pregnancies only when they were 4 months. And now she's saying that she has tried to have a child, but she can't have a child anymore. She says that my womb was destroyed by the pastor. Maybe she was only taken into the pastor's house for some strange rituals. If you have ever had any encounter, please feel free to contact us using our WhatsApp number